Terrific. All right. Welcome to the Hanover Selectboard meeting of Monday, December 9th, 2024. Thanks for coming out on a somewhat snowy evening. Appreciate that. We do have a pretty full agenda tonight, including review of social service budgets. But let's first, are there any select board members who might wish to reorder any items on the agenda? Okay. All right. Any announcements or recognition? I'm looking to Rob.
I'll take care of that in the town manager.
Town manager report. Terrific. Okay. Any public comments? David.
Somebody else will go first.
Okay. Sorry. You're both saying go for it. Yeah. You're both being very kind, but whichever of you would like to come forward first. Yeah. So, and before we begin the public comment period, this is the period of the agenda when the public is welcome to address the select board. We ask that one addresses issues not already scheduled on the agenda. We ask that individuals restrict their comments to 5 minutes, and questions will be directed to the chair of the select board. The chair will decide whether to answer questions or to take the comments under advisement. If you could please introduce yourself.
My name is David Vincelette. I live at 93 Lebanon Street in Hanover. I've lived there for 40 years with the driveway that was there when I bought my property. I'm a retired Army veteran. I was an officer in the Mountain Warfare Unit, and I have a sworn duty to defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. When I know for a fact crimes have been committed, I have no choice but to expose them to the people. Today, I called Carrie Osgood, trying to find out whether the select board had any rules or a mission statement. She couldn't find any. I was specifically interested on what the format is for a recall petition on Robert Hausman being chosen as the new town manager, despite the fact that I had presented evidence that he's a criminal. For 19 years, the board has refused to answer my questions. For the last 8 years, I've asked Robert Hausman whether he put a fence over our driveway at 93 11th Street from November 2016 till December 2018. I can't get a straight answer from you, Carrie Callahan. Are you an attorney?
Am I an attorney? No,
Are you an attorney? You're not an attorney? Because I went back and watched the video of November 18th, and when asked about the blocked driveway and fire lane to respond, you cut off my attempt to get him to answer the simple question. And you said there was an egress. I couldn't understand what you were saying. And then you repeated, you said there was an avenue in and out of my property. And then you said that I had attended meetings during the time that I was held up, fenced in on my property. So, yes, I was illegally forced to leave my property on foot because I had no driveway or fire lane. I had to walk through the forest to get here. I'm a disabled veteran with 25 years of service. I was awaiting hip replacement at the time I was held. I shouldn't have had to limp off my property to attend meetings to free us. Any citizen has the right to legal access to their home without government interference. My driveway is in my deed. The government can't take private property without compensation. Mr. Hausman has broken the law, and 13 officials and police know it. I would like you to answer the question. I'd like you to have Mr. Hausman answer the question whether he fenced over my driveway and fire lane from November 2016 till December 2018. Just like a straight answer to a simple question.
David, we'll take your question under advisement. We're not going to answer questions right now.
Typical.
Are there any further members of the public who would like to address the select board? Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrie, and please remind me when we get the 1 minute mark, so just so I won't go over. As you got my email, that
Yes.
said I'd be here, brought some exhibits and my response to the productive meeting we had back in August and the town's official response, which I said I'd be delivering.
Pete, if you just repeat your name.
Yep, Pete Zandron in White River Junction. Now, before I submit it, allow me to give a summary of this, because while the town has been sincere in its efforts to do community reconciliation after what happened with the protests in May, Dartmouth has not been entirely sincere. Now, I've addressed 3 specific points where I am an expert. First, the issue with Iran, Palestine, and what's going on over there. Because before I begin, I should remind people that what goes on in the classrooms and at the events at Dartmouth has a local and a global impact. And in these 3 areas, Dartmouth is not giving a complete and proper education. Now, on the first issue, the majority of people at Dartmouth, students and faculty, they don't know simple facts like the Medinat Yehud or about Gambars, because of the protests, as well as the incidents of violence in October happened during Gambars. And they don't get a proper education about Jewish criminals like my stepfamily that created this whole mess, which is going on, which was being protested that 5 years ago this month. And consider today, teaching Hebrew or even language or even discussing it is construed by some people as threatening behavior, when that was what was being taught at Dartmouth when it was first founded. And by contrast, consider how many of the protesters who were protesting Palestine, the majority of them don't even understand Arabic. When I was at Brown with Stan Collins' nephew, if you didn't understand Arabic, Stan's nephew would teach you, just so you could be aware of these facts. On the second point, the indigenous issue, well, consider how many of the current administration, Dartmouth would not be allowed to pitch a tent on tribal land, including Mohegan land, yet I've been able to do that for the past decade. And some native tribes, even the Mohegans, are discussing reciprocal trespasses against some members of Dartmouth, including their administration for that. Now, the third, the medical issue. As many of you have seen, for the past 4 months, I've been walking around with these medical braces on my feet, which are coming off this month. However, Dartmouth did not try to arrange follow-up treatment until March.
So Pete, I don't mean to interrupt, but I do want to point out that what goes on at Dartmouth is not the domain of the select board.
But as I said, they're not giving a proper education. And like I said, these are facts. Like I said, Gambars and and not understanding the language of the region. This just shows that both the protesters and the people at Dartmouth, they don't always have a full knowledge of what's going on. And if anyone wants to question my expertise, wrote the book on this. One of the Harvard copies that they sold of my book, which Sir Tamerlan Tsarnaev had handled. When it's a little beat up, I bring it to the trials for Tsarnaev, and it was only recently that they began examining it. Now back to the medical issue. You consider how Dartmouth would not arrange proper follow-up treatment. The Upper Valley Haven, and listen, they got me a pair of replacements for these, which I have in my bag. I just wanted to bring this to the select board's attention, because since I've returned to the region as an adult 7 years ago.
You asked me to tell you when 1 minute.
1 minute, all right. And
Take a
I
breath.
brought quite a few, but like with the access issue, we've had these issues with Biolox before over at Barnard. I didn't mean to go over just no proper clock the way they do over in White River. And this has happened before, and I've only attended events at Dartmouth when invited. The community event I did attend, it's involved back in April, made the front page of the campus paper because I help host similar events. And if Dartmouth is really, now they have no, even though I don't have full access to the campus anymore, they still have no real issue with me just cutting across from medical and transit issues. And with back to the medical, consider how one of the professors at Biolog's alma mater, Sean Channel, made some this is someone who's made statements that Roland Freiser would envy, specifically that a person could be lucid and not be competent to manage their own affairs. Now when Satcher released that report on mental health, him and I warned of such behaviors. Now consider that this is not the first. No.
5 minutes is up, but if you could wrap up.
Yep. Now if they're really sincere, engage with us in the community. We should not have to work through the select board and other people in the town just to get things done, just to ensure. I mean, the whole time I was at events, I got protesters to hold off on their violence. At one point I had to make creative use of Webster Hall to do an intervention for a student. Now the town would not have been creative to think of something like this, but as I've said before, think about the future. And also one other point, I signed this before I submit this to the board, I signed this under my title. One reason I got involved with the dialogues, Biolog knew how to address me by my title properly the first time. Whoever tried, when the trespass issue came up, they issued me under a different name than was on the invitations, including to an event that happened at the same time as the protest. So, and I'll be around during break if you want.
Yes, please come forward. If you could state your name.
Am I allowed to ask questions also?
Yes, if you could introduce your name and where you live.
My name is Ben Hoffer. I live at 8 Prospect Street. I'm in Hanover. And I don't have a long thing to say today. I just want to introduce myself. And I'll probably come to the next select board meeting to introduce a bill that the New Hampshire ranked choice voting initiative is going to introduce about municipalities' ability to choose or make decisions in their own legislative processes. I don't know, could I ask of the select board if you're like very medium or not really familiar with the ideas of ranked choice voting?
Brief discussion about it, but
Okay.
not the details. But
yeah, I just want to know, so next time I can come in with maybe like a little piece. And yeah, and the idea of that would be that since it's about municipalities' ability to weigh in on how they run their own elections, it would be very helpful if select boards from towns like Hanover would just, write in when the bill's being heard in the legislature. It'd be nice for different towns to say, we do want this. We want the ability to do this. But yeah, I don't have anything with me right now. Just wanted to introduce myself, say that's what.
thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. Yeah. Or to learning more. Okay, we will turn now to the business requiring discussion, the first portion of which is the social service budget presentations. And we have, I'm sorry, there's another member in the back. Was there another member of the public who wished to? No. Are you with the social service agency? No. Oh, okay, you're together. Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, okay. I didn't know if you wanted to come forward and speak. So we have two social service agencies that are here, the Haven and Visiting Nurse. I'd like to go with you guys first, and then we'll go to those who are participating via Zoom so that you don't necessarily have to stick around unless you'd like to. You're welcome to. You guys have a preference?
The nurse was here first.
Yes, okay, all right, yes.
Good evening. Catherine Eastman, I'm with the Visiting Nurse Hospice Association for Vermont, New Hampshire. Wanted to thank you for taking the opportunity to review. I know we submitted documents, the application and backup documents, so I want to thank you for taking the time to review those and give us consideration for funding. I don't know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. Are you familiar with VNA and the services that they provide? I know you supported us for many, many years, and The VNA provides a very unique service that I think is a wonderful service for a very special part of our population, our older senior citizens, allowing them to receive medical services in their home, in the comfort of their home, surrounded with their family, and the dignity and that's priceless in my mind, enabling them to be able to get their services in their home. The last place you generally want to do that is have to go to a hospital emergency room. And our home health program provides, I have some interesting statistics on the home health side. The adult home health caregivers, they help with recovery and getting back on their feet, and helping with prevent readmissions, but they've had 1,642 individuals served in the fiscal year of 224. That's just one of our divisions. We have long-term care. We have home hospice, which most of my work is for B&H is in the home hospice field, which is a very, very special service that we provide to people at a very difficult time in life. In that, we've had 281 individuals served in 2024. And as you know, we've been in business for around 100 plus years. And I think it's a value to the community. We serve obviously people that are residents here in Hanover as well as the surrounding areas. And we are faced with many financial difficulties, as many businesses are today. Particularly, we have to deal with Medicare. And if anyone has dealt with Medicare, that's a difficult agency to deal with. They have made so many cutbacks on reimbursement to us for our services that it's making it difficult to provide those services without funding from towns like yourselves. Along with the rising costs of doing business. We have nurses on the road, so there's costs to that. There's costs that have gone up on all the supplies that we provide, the medical equipment that we provide to people so that they can stay in their homes. All of that has risen. And even though our costs have risen immensely, we're asking for level funded from previous years from the town, because we know towns also are having difficulty as well. So to give you an idea, another little interesting thing, which I didn't realize, in 2024, V&H has served over 2,500 patients across all our programs. We have had 48,000 visits. And we have drove over 700,000 miles to provide medical services to families, to keep them out of the hospitals, to keep them out of the emergency rooms, to give them the dignity of getting care in their homes for their families, in the place that they love to be. So I truly hope that you can find a way to provide us with our request for funding. It would be so greatly appreciated, and would mean very much to our agency so that we can continue to provide, I think, these priceless services to one of the most important pieces of our population, the elderly.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
any questions or anything?
Through. I think you could sit down
I'm
if you
sorry,
like. Oh, okay.
I have a plugged ear,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm having a hard time hearing. So
Oh, yeah,
I
sorry.
apologize.
I don't always speak loudly enough, so I apologize. So I know V&H is now part of Dartmouth Hitchcock. I know you gave us all the financial statements of the mothership. But how does that change the funding model and the fiscal challenges for you guys?
Give me the last part again.
How does that change the funding model and the fiscal challenges for V&H?
Well, we are part of the Dartmouth Health System, so we are under their umbrella. However, we're independent in many ways. There has been some financial assistance. However, Dartmouth Health looks at us as an independent entity financially. The financial assistance from them, to my knowledge, and I'm not part of the financial team, but to my knowledge is limited, and the expectation for Dartmouth Health is for us to sustain our own financial ability. So like Dartmouth Health, who has had a deficit, as many of you know, it's been public knowledge through the last year or so that they've had a huge deficit, and they have corrected their ship, and they have made great grounds in recovering from that deficit. The V&A has also had a deficit. We have made considerable changes because we're not being supplemented to the level that we should be from Dartmouth Health, or that they want to give us. We have made considerable changes in how we do business. We have cut back territory, our service area, we've cut that back. We've cut our staffing back. We have sort of turned into this kind of lean green machine with our processes and our procedures to be efficient, utilizing people to cover perhaps more than one area of expertise so that we can keep our staffing level. So we bear the burden of keeping ourselves financially fit. We've implemented expense reductions that have reduced our operating loss by 50%, and we continue our stewardships, and we're focused on FY25. So we have completed FY24 with a 19% operating loss. And as I stated, I do know that Dartmouth Health gives us some funding, but in many ways we are totally separate from them. Still, it's a very complicated relationship. Some things Dartmouth Health, like we have their EMR system. So that's great for continuity of care for patients, because now obviously we're tied to the greatest medical facility in our area, and most patients we serve are Dartmouth Health patients. So we're converted to their system. So we're all Dartmouth Health in that sense, but our benefits are Dartmouth Health. However, some other benefits are not. Our pay is not. So there's still areas financially that we are totally independent, and the expectation is that we take care of ourselves.
Thank you,
Does that
Kathy.
answer
Thank
your
you.
question?
That does answer. Any other questions from the board?
No.
No. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Catherine.
and
Appreciate
thanks,
Appreciate it.
and thanks for your service.
Have
My,
a great evening. Thank you
Yeah,
so much
and
for your
be safe.
consideration.
Safe.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Safe travels.
Okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michael Redmond. I'm the Executive Director of the Upper Valley Haven located in White River Junction. You probably have heard of us. We've been around for 40 some odd years. A year ago, we were asked by the city of Lebanon to operate a winter shelter for them in a building that they owned and that we helped renovate for them and under a contract. And they've asked, we did a good enough job. They asked us to come back and operate it again this winter, and we anticipate we'll operate it again next winter, which brings you into the budget that you have from July of 25 to June of 26. Well, last year there were no residents from Hanover that used the shelter. The city of Lebanon asked us if we would request a nominal amount from Hanover to help offset the costs of operating that shelter. So I agreed to do that and submitted a proposal asking for $3,000. It would offset the costs and provide beds. It serves the Upper Valley both with a focus on Lebanon, but it's been open for people from other municipalities in New Hampshire and also in Vermont. In fact, last year, about a quarter of a third of the people who used the shelter were from Vermont, and I was successful in requesting funding from the state of Vermont to help offset the costs for Lebanon, which only seemed fair, and the money was available, so I said, why not? Let's go find some. So The cost to operate the shelter is about $153,000 a year. So with an average, we think we'll have about an average of 11 guests each night. It's a small shelter, only 14 or 15 beds. And of a full 120 night season, that might be a little bit shorter. You might have read in the paper this week that we're working on staffing. We hope to open in a couple of weeks. That a $3,000 grant would cover about 26 bed nights in the shelter if there was anyone from Hanover. This would have saved the town of Hanover from having to manage any requests during the winter period, secured temporary rooms and motels, which is what would be currently done under its welfare obligations to the state of New Hampshire. However, I think the funding is probably more important symbolically. For its support of the service, recognizing the challenges that face people in the Upper Valley who are homeless. And then this is the larger Upper Valley series of communities. There are services provided that tend to be centered in Lebanon and in White River Junction and Hartford. And the community surrounding that gets some benefit from those services that are there that have to be provided in each municipality. So the Haven typically doesn't have a history of requesting grants from municipalities. We are grateful for the annual contributions that over 3,500 individuals, businesses, groups, churches make to allow us to do the work that we do, that people want to have done and seem to think that we do a good job doing it. So I offer this as an opportunity for Hanover to decide whether it thinks that it could provide this small grant as a support. Truly, it would reduce we would then look at our contract and say we'll spend $3,000 less of it. So that would save the municipality of Lebanon a few dollars, as we did by getting some money from Vermont. So I appreciate the opportunity to ask you for this request, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Michael? No, first of all, we really appreciate the work that you do on behalf of the entire broader community. We're very cognizant of the vital support that you provide to so many people. So thank you.
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
To rest on the laurels of the hardworking staff, the volunteers, and the support that we get from the community. Really appreciate this opportunity. Okay.
Thank you for
Good
coming
work.
out.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
coming out. Drive
Thank you.
safely.
Bye-bye.
Dina.
You get Peter right.
Oh, okay. All right, great. All right. Thank you. Dina, did you want to speak? Yeah, certainly. And we have.
I think Dina Romero, Hanover, I think Michael said it very well in his application. One of the reasons I have been advocating that we, the town of Hanover, provide a small amount of funding for Lebanon is that homelessness is an issue that is not just germane to the Upper Valley, because quite simply, there aren't enough affordable housing. So I think my father always used to say, just because we live in the provinces doesn't mean we have to think provincially. Thinking provincially would be, well, who in Hanover is going to use the seasonal shelter? I'll tell you who might use it, as Michael wrote in his application. Anyone who appears in Hanover who does not have a residence anywhere and who requests general assistance, the town of Hanover has to help them. And in the past, it's been, I think Mike also said that, a hotel room, which costs more money in the long run. So I really feel very strongly and encourage Michael to present his application. And I've come out tonight on purpose in support of it. So thank you for any time that you give to it.
Thank you, Dina, for coming out in support of the Haven. Okay. Rob, I'm turning to you because we have a number of participants on Zoom. Is that correct?
We do.
Yes. Okay. All right. Do you have an order in mind?
I was going to run straight down the backup spreadsheet.
Oh,
but
okay.
it may be a little bit challenging because I don't have the contact name on the spreadsheet. So WISE, I'm going to promote Peggy O'Neill. Bear with me a moment.
Wise is next.
Running down this spreadsheet.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Peggy, unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the board, please.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if I can put my video on as well. There you go. Thanks so much for the Zoom option for this evening. Really appreciate it. As Rob said, I'm Peggy O'Neill. I'm Executive Director of WISE. And we're here tonight to both thank the town of Hanover for the opportunity to submit an application and also to thank the town for its past support of our 24-hour advocacy program. We're requesting level funding again this year. Those unfamiliar, WISE is the designated domestic and sexual violence crisis center in the Upper Valley, and our advocacy program supports victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and human trafficking. We're able to do this every day, 24 hours a day, via our confidential and free 24-hour crisis line. What I would say is we've been doing this for a long time, and I would say the last couple of years, I'm both heartened and so appreciative that we're able to maintain a 24-hour crisis line because often it is a resource that people are not easily able to access. I think some other 24-hour services are less abundant as they had been in past years. We provide a critical community service because of the commitment of time and care that our volunteers give, as well as our paid staff. Our trained on-call volunteers are volunteering nearly 10,000 hours a year to staff our crisis line, nights, weekends, and holidays. What that means is every night there are at least 2 people on call for our crisis line. In our last reporting year, and this is all in the application, we supported 1,355 people who identified as a victim of one of the types of violences. 83 of those folks identified as living in the town of Hanover. Many people do not always identify their hometown. Hanover is the 3rd highest of the 23 Upper Valley communities that WISE serves in its service area, behind Lebanon and Hartford, Vermont. Our advocacy program is it's a full service program, if you will, and it includes a number of services. And that includes accompaniment at local hospitals, often Dartmouth Hitchcock, we're up there frequently. It also includes going to police departments in the middle of the night. It includes working in social service organizations and supporting people there. The advocacy program, you won't be surprised, I don't think, to hear this, especially with Michael coming before me, is finding that it is fielding multiple times a day requests for housing support. WISE can provide housing support in one of our 2 shelters. We have both a home and a 4-unit apartment building. We also support people in hotels and motels in the Upper Valley community. And we work with any number of people daily to access their own housing on eligibility for different housing lists, paperwork, preparing for rent, security, etc. But perhaps what isn't as well known is the quiet work that we do. It's being in relationship with so many people who trust us to share their hard, confusing, and often scary situation. This quiet and consistent support is behind the scenes in many ways. We're listening, supporting, being available when someone wants and asks for support. And I'll just close with a quote from someone who recently reached out to us. The knowledge and compassion shown by each member of the WISE team have empowered me not only to face this challenge, but also to begin healing from the adversities I've encountered. For this, I am endlessly thankful. I cannot overstate the impact that your guidance and support have had on me during this turbulent period. From the legal advice to the emotional support, every effort you made was crucial in helping me navigate through the complexities with confidence and dignity. Your team's dedication to advocating is both inspiring and comforting. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Peggy.
Thank you, Peggy, and thank you for bringing that to life through that quote. That was very powerful. Any questions from select board members about WISE, the services they provide?
Really important.
Yes, very important. Thank you for all the good work you do. Thank you for participating tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Okay.
West Central's next.
Yep, bear with me a moment.
Yeah, okay. Dana,
Dana.
maybe.
West Central, Dana, I'm going to promote you to panelist. Please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the board.
Sorry about that. My name is Dana Mikulovic. I'm the Development Director with West Central Behavioral Health. And I'm hoping you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes, good. Thank you. West Central helps people who have severe mental illness. So our numbers are lower than maybe some of the other agencies that you fund. Last year, we served 20 people from Hanover, residents. 5 were children. 2 were helped by the mobile crisis team. We do help people of all ages. So our goal is to help people function in the community and to keep them out of more restrictive settings, such as residential or hospital settings. And we support people to be independent and to integrate them into the community as they experience recovery. So those 20 people received 453 services, which is an average of 23 visits per person. But some say the mobile crisis callers probably received 1 or 2 visits, an initial visit, and then a few follow-ups. Whereas other people who are able to live in the community only with the support of West Central receive services perhaps even daily. We have a program called Assertive Community Treatment, and there's 2 people in Hanover that are enrolled in that program. And they receive medication management, so daily distribution of their medications. So our programs really vary from being 1 or 2 touches to many touches. But the common element for all of our programs is that we are working with people who have severe and profound mental illness. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, so I do, and it's probably more of an educational issue for me, Dana, which is, are the services that you provide typically of kind of an emergency, urgent nature, or does it end up being kind of a chronic, maybe that's not the right word, but ongoing support service? How do we think about that?
Well, the mobile crisis is designed to be the urgent response. So our team is based in Claremont, but they will be the call goes into a statewide triage number, and then they're called out to towns throughout our service area, which is Lower Grafton and all of Sullivan County. And then the other services are more ongoing for people. You know, the goal is always that they would get to a point where they didn't need services, but especially for some folks who might otherwise be living in a more restrictive, they wouldn't be in the community, they would be living in a restrictive setting. We see them often. And we run a residential community house in Newport with 16 beds. I should say that 85% of our clients are on Medicaid, so they're very low income. And we are working with Medicaid reimbursement rates. So that's one reason fundraising is especially critical for us.
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions? No? Dana, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you for your interest.
We are moving on to Valley Court diversion programs. Ellen, I will promote you next.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ellen Wicklum. I'm the Executive Director of Valley Court Diversion Programs. We practice restorative justice in the greater Upper Valley area. We cover Lower Grafton and Sullivan counties in New Hampshire and Windsor County in Vermont. Thank you for your past support. We really appreciate it. This year, we're requesting level funding. And before I go any further, I would like to correct something on our application form. It indicated on page 2, the FY25 figure, it stated that there were 6 Hanover residents that we'd served so far. And there were actually 11 in the first quarter, and 6 is the number to date in the second quarter. So we're about on track to have a showing much like last year and the year before. Restorative justice is an alternative program for dealing with violations, misdemeanors, felonies. We are victim-centered, so we are concerned that victims are compensated as far as that's possible. We like to have the perpetrators make up for the harm that they caused. In order to participate, somebody must accept responsibility for what they did. We have community volunteers, several from Hanover, who meet in a small group with someone who has caused harm. And we discuss the event. The victim's thoughts are welcome. They can attend, they can write in however they wish to participate, including, I don't ever want to think of this again, just leave me out of it. We set up a contract with the offender, and they have a set period of time to work through the items on the contract. So one would be compensating the victim. Sometimes that's restitution. Sometimes it's an apology or an apology letter. It might be community service. We also take a really close look at the offender themselves and try to help them figure out what was behind this behavior and how they could put themselves in a better position so that faced with similar circumstances, they wouldn't make the same decision. So we refer people for counseling. We send them to anger management classes, whatever seems appropriate. We've been serving Hanover since 2007. We've been around since the 80s, but Hanover since 2007. And our referrals come from the Hanover Police Department. So it is the police who choose which cases to send to us, violation, misdemeanor, or felony. And that pulls a case out of the formal criminal justice system, meaning that the police aren't spending their time investigating, prosecuting. The courts are not burdened with the particular offense that's been selected. The carrot for a participant is that they can avoid a permanent criminal record and avoid a permanent criminal record, which also benefits the town because people without a criminal record are much better candidates for housing, employment, education, and so on. So we're hoping for your support again this year. Again, we're at about 17 people so far in fiscal year 25. Let's see, I don't want to leave anything out. The people who participate in our programs are about 85% successful. And if a person does not succeed, then we let the police know and the prosecution moves forward through the traditional channels. But restorative justice is compassionate, equitable. It doesn't do further harm to people, and it sees that victims are compensated and the community is made whole again. Any questions?
Ellen, successful meaning that they followed through on their contract?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes. So did the restitution, took the classes, went for a mental health assessment, whatever it is that the community volunteers have asked them to do. And it's very important that it is the community volunteers that work out the contract terms with the help of the victim and the offender. Because the whole idea is that this is a form of justice that the community itself generates, and it's for promoting the life and the community as a community rather than an adversarial relationship that you might find in a traditional court proceeding.
Thank you. Questions for Ellen?
I'm just kind of curious if you've noticed like how your comparison of repeat offenders works with people who just go through the judicial system, if you have any kind of data on that, just because I'm curious.
I wouldn't be able to cite figures for you tonight, but it is well documented that people who go through diversion are much less likely to reoffend than people who are traditionally prosecuted. And I'll also point out that another concept that's taking root in the criminal justice world is desistance, which is discouraging someone from committing such a serious offense before. So again, so if their behavior sort of dials back, but they're still not a model citizen, we can look at that as a win as well, because you might, instead of dealing with an assault for a second time, it might be disorderly conduct or something like that. So recidivism is decreased and desistance is increased.
Word I never heard before.
Thank you.
Desistance. It's interesting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ellen. we
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you.
Andrew Winda.
Oh, it's Andrew.
I think it's Andrew. Twin Pines, Andrew, I'm promoting you.
Good afternoon or good evening. Andrew Winter, Executive Director at Twin Pines Housing Trust. For those of you who are not familiar with Housing Trust, we are the regional nonprofit affordable housing agency. We own, manage, and develop affordable housing across the region. And in Hanover, we currently own 118 units of housing that we have developed. Today, I'm before you requesting funding in the amount of $17,000, a slight increase from last year when you were kind enough to allocate $15,000 to support our resident supportive service program. One of the properties that we operate is Summer Park, which is a senior housing development of 42 units located directly across the street from the high school. It was developed in two phases in 2020, and then in a second phase opening in 2022. The resident service folks help work with our Hanover residents. The team consists of a director and 3 coordinators who dedicate an average of 7 hours per week to in-property services for Hanover residents. And then each hour of on-site support typically involves another hour in the office of work for follow-up, planning, and coordination. Many of the services that you've heard from, many of the groups that you've heard from today are services that may be connecting, we may be connecting our residents to, whether it's West Central Behavioral Health or some of the other folks that are coming up, or the visiting nurses, for instance. But the goal of our intervention through the resident services program is to help keep people healthy and housed. Believe it or not, we have people who move in to a property like Summer Park, and in many cases are there for 10, 20, sometimes even longer, 30 years. And it becomes a place that in many cases is their final home. And as part of that, we have to work hard to keep people healthy, keep them housed, keep them comfortable to the best of our ability. And the resident services team and the support that you provided are a critical element in that work. So I'll leave it at that and happily take any questions you may have about our request.
It's nice to know that there's 118 units in Hanover. Thank you. Not a lot, but it's more than that were there 10 years ago.
You know what? It's an incredibly valuable talking point when I'm working in other communities, and sometimes folks like to say, "Well, what's Hanover doing?" And I'm very clear that 118 units is 118 units, and every unit that we get in the Upper Valley is a critical part of.
We're looking for more, Andrew.
I know.
Okay.
We're working on a couple fronts there.
Yeah. All right. Separate conversation. Thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tri-County.
Tri-County Cap, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the board.
Hello.
Dark.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Good evening. So my name is Janae Smallwood. I am the Municipal Funds Coordinator for Tri-County CAP. This year, we are asking Hanover, I wanted to say thank you to the select boardsmen and everything, of $23,740. The reason why is the request is to support all our programs that we have for Tri-County CAP. Fuel and energy assistance is our biggest in Hanover. This year we did 30 clients with you, and the total value of $26,345.76. We also have a new program that I'm trying to find somebody to work in that area, which is our diaper program. I do have, we also have Head Start there. Housing we have, and for homelessness, we also have, for Hanover. Can't speak today, so excuse me. So the municipal funds is critical for Tri-County CAP here, due to the fact that we're trying to match what we will be having, hopefully in 2025 for federal and state. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to help to answer.
So, Janae, thank you for coming out tonight. So that you mentioned that you're providing housing and homelessness services in here.
We have we do have a housing coordinator down there, which is Anna B. And she does the homeless outreach there. I used to be the housing coordinator, which I got promoted to the municipal funds in June. So I'm still basically learning this, sirs and ma'ams, if you guys can be so kind to me, I appreciate it. But yeah, we have weatherization, we have guardianship, 211s for homelessness, call response. We also have housing stability as well, services in Hanover.
But sorry, the 30 in your services to Hanover residents, 30, I think you said is all fuel assistance, is that correct?
No, for fuel assistance, that was a glitch. So for fuel assistance, we served 1,747. And for electrical assistance, we served 1,143. So the total clients that was a glitch is 6,199 clients that we helped in Hanover.
Grafton.
In Grafton County, you mean?
And then 12, yeah.
12 in Hanover, 17
Yeah.
for our electrical assistance.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 12 fuel, 17.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And then one for guardianship.
One for
And
guardian.
then we have guardianship. We had a household of 26 for Hanover.
Sorry, household of, what do you mean by household of 26?
Households means, we had 26 households, different clients, participants that were helped for the guardianship.
One in Hanover.
One in Hanover, okay. One is 26 in Grafton County, one in Hanover, is that right? Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
My apologies.
No, that's
It's
okay.
been a long day.
Questions?
I was just curious, like you said you had served as the coordinator for unhoused people. What type of
what
type of outreach do you do?
What I did, I was the housing stability coordinator for the housing for 4 years. I just received this promotion in June 6th. So I'm still learning the municipal. So thank you for bearing with me. I appreciate it. But with the for housing, what we did was I helped people put people into homes that needed it, paid for the rent, made sure they had case management for over 6 months. And then housing right now is under Eric Becker. So they do have ESG and HSS.
Sorry, just looking at your consolidated statement of activities, and I know you're a huge organization, but it looks like your total revenues were around 44 million, but
Let me go ahead and grab those for me, if you give me one brief moment.
That just didn't make sense.
All righty. So you're on the cap agencies
I'm on
budget wide?
page 5 of the financial statements.
Brief moment. Page 5. Okay. All righty. I'm with you now.
Okay, all right. So just kind of big picture, it looks like the agency has something like 44 million of revenues. And it looks like 40 million of that comes from grants and contracts. It seems like that's where most of your support comes from. But then you've got a bunch of other categories. Is what you get from municipalities part of that grants and contracts, or is it down under, I don't know, contributions or something like that? I'm just trying to get a sense of what we give, where it fits into what you get.
You know what? To be honest, I'm still learning on this. So you have to do.
Okay. No worries.
My apologies, but I can get it. I can get the answer you will like, and I can send it to you.
That's fine. That's totally fine.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. What's next, Rob?
Special Needs Support Center, Dr. Kendra LaRoche.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Dr. Kendra LaRoche. I'm the Executive Director of the Special Needs Support Center. I'm going to kind of have two parts to our request for you. One is our more traditional request. Last year, you generously funded us, and we very much appreciated that. We have a slight increase so far in this new fiscal year. Our fiscal year started July 1st, so we're still only halfway through that. And then we are expecting that to increase even more as the Visions home in Hanover opened this fall, and that does increase the participation of individuals, participants from Hanover in SNSC programming. What we do is we do a few different things. We do advocacy support. So we collaborate with families to work in schools. We are that middle ground of support where a parent does not want to have an adversarial relationship with the school, but would like some support in helping their child through an IEP or 504 process, the processes of a disability diagnosis and supports in schools. And so we work collaboratively, and our goal is always to bring families and schools together. We do that in Hanover with the schools and families in those schools. We also have programming. That's probably what is most well known about us because we've been around since 1979. We have programs for youth during school vacations, like February and April break, and then during the summertime as well. And that's full day programming, allowing parents to continue to work. We do have a significant amount of our parents work in Hanover. Even though there's a smaller amount of people actually living in Hanover. We have a number of people who work there. And so this allows them to continue their employment in the summertime if they have kids with disabilities who often are not able to go to other camps or programs because of the severity of their disability. We also have the SNP program, the Special Needs Information Program. We have trained the Hanover Police in both disability awareness and de-escalation that goes along with that awareness. The goal there is to make sure that the national numbers for police and fatal encounters with individuals with disabilities are not mirrored in the Upper Valley area. So we do some of that work. We also have a database that we work with the Hanover Police for individuals with disabilities sign up for that with us, and we have permission to share that information with the police that helps them have the information they need to de-escalate situations, what triggers there might be, things like if the flashing lights and loud sounds would go away, then they'd have a much easier time with this particular individual on the autism spectrum from escalating. So that's what we have been doing in the past. You will notice that our request this year is significantly higher. So I want the rest of this time to address why that is. And if you look at the appendix that I supplied, that is the main reason. We are offering to do a number of things with Hanover that address your sustainability master plan. We have a disability-friendly certification that we are in charge of the entire process. So we do audits and we give recommendations with those audits. We go into businesses and we do staff training, disability awareness, HR and management training around ADA. And from that, we have a number of different goals that we identified in the Hanover Sustainability Master Plan that we can do for Hanover with the additional funding that we are requesting. So notice that some of them, I'm not going to go through all of them right now, but audits of your downtown area. This could be current and proposed public spaces. These could be public establishments like businesses, public restrooms, sidewalk audits, any outdoor spaces and furnishings. We could do audits of all of these spaces, again, with this additional funding that we are requesting. We also have been working with both the Vermont and New Hampshire tourism departments to brand the Upper Valley as accessible. And with some of these audits and changes, we could start working with the town manager to brand Hanover as an accessible city, which could bring in additional tourism. We also could, we've started collaborating with different parks and rec departments in Lebanon and Hartford, and we would like to do that in Hanover as well, about creating offerings that are accessible to people with multiple disabilities. That goes with your goal 9.4.4. And then we are offering to train all town employees, board members, volunteers with disability awareness training. Again, we would do that free of charge with this additional funding. What questions do you have?
So, Kendra, sorry, can you isolate the part of what I think you're offering, which is interesting, is I would almost categorize as consulting type work.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what is the total amount of that in your proposal?
13.
13,000?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's 13.
Then 12 is level funding of the support services for the community.
Correct.
So it strikes me that we almost want to tease those apart. I mean, I think that, you know, this social service support is categorized a little bit differently than sort of a consulting work, which might be something that we put in, I think, a different area as opposed. It's not a annual organizational support request. It's a one-time consulting assignment. So I guess I would argue it's a little bit different, and I don't know how the board feels about positioning this in our conversation, but I feel like we should tease them apart.
Yes.
And I also think that, you know, in the context of the objectives in terms of supporting, you know, we almost need to think about it relative to other alternative vendors, which we would normally do in a consulting assignment. Not saying that you're not the right organization, but I think we would normally say, if we want this level of service, what are the organizations? Who should we ask? You would, I would think, would be amongst them, but you see what I'm saying? I think it's a little bit of a different process.
Well, you guys worked on it, right? Jared and Rob?
Worked on what
With this, did you work with Kendra on this application, or?
I wouldn't say I worked with her on it. We had a call and just discussed the services that they would provide us. And basically I kind of pointed her towards our master plan as an area where we're already looking to implement a lot of the services that Kendra's organization can supply.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. One is like implementing the master plan, and the other is annual support of services, of social services, right? You're looking at me with.
It's a lot of different ways we could talk about disability and how to help a body interact in a space. Like if you're saying all of the services in my mind that Kendra is talking about, while some are ongoing social services provided to individuals, all of them are services, and others would be like more of project-based. Help create an interface between a body and an environment so that people are not disabled by the environment. So in that way, they're serving people. So I don't see them as like not serving people. So I'm not sure. So, but yeah, the categorization of like one being project-based and one being service-based to individuals, yes. But they're all serving people who we would otherwise categorize as disabled by their environment.
Yes, I think all serving people, but I think that they're a different process, both with respect to
bidding,
repeatability, bidding. So that's why I would tease them apart. That would be our normal, I think, process. If we said, you know what, we need to engage with someone, we would say, let's look at the consultants on offer. Again, you might be the right answer, but I think it's a little bit different process.
May I jump in with a third possibility?
Yep, sure.
Thank you. So the way that I'm working with Lebanon through this same process is kind of identifying goals similar to this and having a joint partnership with their select board. So we're the select board is in the process of working to pass a resolution saying that they would like to become a disability friendly city. And once that resolution is passed, I'm working with their select board to co-author some grants in order to pay for the work. And in those grants is some consulting fees that would include us as well. So I don't know if that is a whole other option, if I'm opening up a can of worms to even offer that right now. I might be doing all of the above, but I just wanted to share how this is working in some local areas, if that's helpful.
That's helpful. Yeah, Rob.
Thank you. I did reach out to Kendra after we received the original letter and was looking to schedule a meeting with DPW, Pete Kobaki, and Ryan Burkowski, who is our ADA coordinator. I was viewing this as a consultant that we would hire from the current budget to fund the work, because I think it's informative as we move forward in planning our improvements. It would be helpful to have it up front. So I believe I have access to the funds in one of two pots, either the planning department's consulting line item or the town manager's budget to fund this portion. I do think it's time sensitive, given that we're already planning for investment in our sidewalks and public infrastructure that should reflect these recommendations.
Right, Kendra, sorry to drag you through with the which pot of money. That's not really your issue. It's our issue, but so okay. So there's a way forward there. It might just look a little bit different in terms of the way we do our end, process. Not your end. Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Kendra?
No, thank you. Good
Okay.
work.
All right, thank you.
Halfway there.
Headrest did not respond to my request to raise their hand, which I assume means they're not present. So we're skipping Headrest and moving to Grafton County Senior Citizens Council. Kathleen, can you introduce yourself to the board?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kathleen Vasconcellos. I'm the Executive Director of the Grafton County Senior Citizens Council. And Jill Vahey is also on. She's having some audio problems, so we might not get her to join, but she's the Director of the Upper Valley Senior Center. So thanks for the opportunity to speak to you about our funding request. We have requested $11,000, which is level funding this year. Our organization operates out of 10 locations. We have senior centers throughout Grafton County and 2 Service Link offices. And as I mentioned, the Upper Valley Senior Center is in Lebanon, and that's our location that serves Hanover residents. Our mission is to develop programs and services that support the health, dignity, and independence of older adults and adults with disabilities in our communities. We do that through core programming such as nutrition, transportation, social services, our Service Link offices, and activities, both on Zoom and at our senior centers. Addressing the very real issue of social isolation is at the core of everything that we do. For example, our Meals on Wheels program, we have volunteers who deliver meals to homebound adults. And it's not just a meal, it is also a wellness check and some brief social interaction to check on the wellness of that individual. And in some cases, the volunteers who deliver those meals are the only person that the meal recipient sees all day. Our transportation program also addresses the isolation issue by connecting people to the community that otherwise would not have transportation and those opportunities to go to destinations such as pharmacies, grocery stores, the senior center. Activities, there's interaction at the senior center with in-person activities and also in-person meals. And then, as I said, Zoom options for those who are homebound and not able to join in person. Last year, we served 163 people who are residents of Hanover, and 46 were also served by our Service Link office. Our cost to provide those services just for Hanover residents was $62,499. And our funding request is, as I said, it's level funding. We haven't had an increase presented to Hanover in over 5 years. And with that, I'll just thank you very much for your support and your consideration of this request, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So why, this is my colleague to my right's not gonna like this question, but if we've been level funding you for 5 years and we're served 163 people and to the tune of 62,000, how come you're not asking for more money?
So thank you for that question. So during the past few years, we have our numbers as far as in person definitely dropped off, of course, during COVID. And so we're building that back up. So I can see next year where I would feel more comfortable being able to defend an increase, quite frankly. But where we are now, yes, the price of everything is going up. And I think we could have asked for more this year. But we use a percentage, to be fair, because we do ask for funding from other towns as well. And the percentage that we're asking for from Hanover is in line with where we are with the other towns. So it's also an equity issue. But I think you can look forward to an increase request next year.
Sorry, Carrie. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Now I
For your work,
understand.
Kathleen, appreciate it.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate all the work that you do.
Thank you.
We're moving to Good Neighbor Health Clinic. Rebecca, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the board.
Can you hear me all right?
We hear you just fine.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rebecca Waugh, and I'm the Marketing and Development Coordinator for Good Neighbor Health Clinic. We are a cost-free medical and dental clinic located in White River Junction, Vermont, with services including primary care, dental care, specialty care, and resource navigation. I'm here to share some more about our services and to request continued support in the amount of $7,000 from the town of Hanover to help meet the growing demand for our programs. This year, we've had the privilege of serving 18 residents from Hanover, 8 of whom received medical care and 10 of whom received dental care. Because we offer a comprehensive range of services at no cost to our patients, we ensure that financial barriers do not prevent access to critical care. However, a significant number of our patients, over 75%, report delaying care before coming to our clinic. Our patients delay care due to life circumstances such as losing a job, losing insurance, or just finding themselves in a place of need. Many of the conditions we treat can be prevented or lessened with earlier intervention. When care is delayed, it leads to more costly and severe health issues as patients are forced to rely on emergency services to address problems that could have been managed sooner. This not only worsens health outcomes, but it drives up healthcare costs for individuals and communities as a whole. According to the CDC, 90% of our nation's $4.5 trillion in annual healthcare expenditures are for individuals with chronic and mental health conditions, many of which could have been reduced with access to preventative care, services that we provide. As healthcare expenses continue to climb, more people are facing significant barriers to the care that they need, which is increasing our demand for services. Our dental clinic is currently experiencing a wait list of over 8 months for new patients. This increasing demand reflects the critical need for expanded resources to continue offering our essential services to Upper Valley residents. Our work also aligns directly with the goals outlined in the town's master plan, which emphasizes integrating health and well-being into municipal decision-making and ensuring equitable access to services for all residents. By supporting Good Neighbor Health Clinic and Red Logan Dental Clinic, the town will help provide crucial health care, particularly in primary care, dental care, specialty services, where many of our residents are already struggling to get what they need. In closing, your support will help us to provide essential care to those who would otherwise go without it. Thank you for your time and consideration, and hopefully I can help answer some questions that you may have about our organization.
Rebecca, questions for Rebecca?
I'm kind of curious if there's a bucket of medical care that is most commonly accessed.
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I know that it's typically primary care. It seems like a lot of our patients prior to accessing our primary care services are running into panels being full for most providers in the area. We do have a significant ask for mental health as well. And then with our dental wait list, that is extremely long. We typically do have patients that come in several times a day that have to be turned away at this point for dental services just because of that wait list time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
No
Thanks for all
problem.
the
Thank
work
you.
Your agency does. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is Jonathan.
CASA is next.
Okay.
Tara, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the board.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Tara Bergeron. I'm with CASA of New Hampshire. I wanted to say thank you for the Zoom option. I was raised in the South and coming from Manchester and not looking forward to the drive. So I really appreciate this. Thank you. CASA of New Hampshire stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. We provide volunteer support, volunteer advocacy to abused and neglected children from ages birth to 21. CASA is appointed by the court. So we are full party in New Hampshire cases involving abused and neglected children. Our advocates get to know the child and advocate for what is in the child's best interest, regardless of other outlying conditions. It's what's going to be best for the child in the long run. Our advocates are all volunteers. We have over 600 for the state. And currently there are 9 residents of Hanover who are serving as active volunteers representing various cases within Hanover and surrounding towns. Right now we have 3 children involved with CASA that are Hanover residents. We are asking for $500. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but every little bit helps, and we are cognizant that we're not, listening to the presentations tonight, we're not the only nonprofit that's asking for funding. It does cost CASA roughly $2,500 to support one advocate for 1 year. If I were to ask for full funding, that would be, a little over 22,000, and you have a lot of worthy nonprofits that were in the room tonight who are also looking for funding. So we'll keep ours at 500. Are there any questions that I can do right now before I dive into what the role of a CASA is specifically?
No. Did you want, no, thank you. We appreciate the work you did. Did you want to spend a little more time with the board?
Yeah, I mean, if you have any questions, I can answer them. If you're not sure what CASA does, what your residents are doing on behalf of the children, I'm happy to share more details.
I have a friend who does this.
Joanna knows someone.
I know a couple of your CASA people.
Oh, that's excellent.
Do you want to hear more or? Okay. Thank you. We are delighted to hear that a number of our residents are active in your program.
Well, no, we're not really delighted, but
well, no.
We're glad you're supporting them. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well,
And
yes. Those receiving services, we're not delighted, but those who are volunteering and helping, we're delighted for.
Yeah, and I had several who were more than willing to come out tonight, but just opted to stay in due to travel conditions. But they were very willing to come speak to you all as residents to support this request.
Thank you, Tara. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Listen is next. Christy, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the board. You're muted.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Hi, my name is Christy Lennart Reichert, and I'm the interim executive director at Listen Community Services. So I thank you for requesting that service agencies be present this evening. And thank you also for inviting Listen to apply for these funds. We are requesting $10,000 to help fund basic needs, those services for Hanover residents. To explain that, this amount would cover approximately 16% of the anticipated $63,000 in services that cost each year. These services include food assistance through our food pantry and our community dining hall, our housing grants, utility grants, and summer camp scholarships for children. This also includes thrift store vouchers and school supplies, holiday baskets, and other essential service that involves coordination, our care coordinators. That's available for connecting residents to those resources. So the value of services provided to Hanover residents, if we want to rewind a little bit in fiscal year 20 and 21, that was around $15,000 each year. So in just 3 years, we did a bit of a comparison. This amount has quadrupled, reaching over $59,000 in 2024. We provided assistance in 2024 to 7,469 Upper Valley residents, to be exact. That is an 81% increase in comparing that to the peak of the pandemic in 2020. The estimated value of those services in 2024 is well over $2 million and up from $1 million for fiscal year 20. So during that same period, Listen's support for Hanover residents followed that trajectory, and Hanover residents that increased substantially. So in fiscal year 20, there were 68 Hanover residents who received aid from us, compared to 130 in fiscal year 24. So this equates to just under about $60,000. So with COVID relief funds and all of that kind of dropping off for residents, we are trying to get creative as we're seeing the needs of our clients as those are increasing. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
So this is a new request, and I don't recall having looked at Listen before. I don't recall you going to communities asking for funding. It seemed like a kind of a cool model where you had the stores funding your services. And so could you, I understand from what you just explained, things have gotten tighter or more people are asking but I also read in here that you've gone to Lebanon and Enfield or other communities being asked for support. So that's a couple questions.
It is. Let me see if I can capture all those. So just to get a sense of the revenue for Listen, for our client assistance, it's about 30% that the thrift stores are able to fund. Really, the majority of the support we're able to give to the community, it comes from donations. So for several years in a row, I would have to look in my files for the notes, but for several years in a row, we have worked very closely with the city of Lebanon for our transitional housing. We have worked with other towns, and it was interesting. I received this invitation this year from the town of Hanover, so we thought we would take advantage of that. I'm relatively new to Listen, so I looked in our database, and it looks like the town of Hanover did give to Listen, but the last time was 2010. So I think that's accurate. If it's not, then I stand to be corrected. But I think to answer your question, thrift store revenue is obviously a big part for us, and that really is helping our operations. So we are very actively participating in development and seeking philanthropic dollars through grants and donors, because that's really what keeps our programs strong so that we can keep giving back to the Upper Valley community.
Thank you.
And sorry, just because we're asking questions about the thrift store model, it looks like the thrift store revenues at about 4.3 million, but the thrift stores operate at about $155,000 loss. Is that right? Something like that.
I would want to confirm those numbers before I agree to that, but I can get back to you if that would be helpful.
But they are operating. It is operating at loss. It sounds like.
I mean, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We
Thank you so much.
all that you do.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for responding to our invitation, Christy. Thank you. Yes, Dina. Yes. You want to? Yes.
Dina Romero, I left the Hanover Community Council position in 2005. And all those years that I was in the position, so 84 to 2005, Listen was on the budget. And it is an incredible service. I couldn't have done my job without what Listen offered. I mean, food vouchers, the food pantry, clothing vouchers, rental assistance. I mean, it would cost you a lot more in general assistance if we didn't have Listen. So it's, of all the agencies, that one is primary.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dina, for those comments.
Alice, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the board.
Good evening, everyone. Alice Ely. I am the Executive Director for the Public Health Council of the Upper Valley, and I am thrilled to once again have an opportunity to be in front of you virtually in this case, and together with so many of my colleagues across the Upper Valley. The Public Health Council is again requesting funding support from the town of Hanover. This year we are requesting a slight increase to $11,000. You've been funding us for several years now at $9,000. After about 15 years of requesting funding from our New Hampshire communities at a rate of 75 cents per capita, we have raised that to just under $1 per capita. After 15 years or so, we figure it's about time to make a little bit of an increase in our requests. We are a coalition of health and human services organizations that in many ways addresses the gap in local public health that is left by the state of New Hampshire's system, which centralizes all public health functions in the capital in Concord. We work very closely with Dartmouth Health that serves to provide some of the regional public health functions in substance misuse as well as emergency preparedness. But we are the entity that the state looks to create a shared agenda for public health for the region, and to be flexible enough to address the changing needs, the emerging needs of our communities. We work in 4 different ways. One is we are a regional hub for convening and connecting organizations to improve public health. We are a leader in facilitating new ways of approaching systemic health challenges. We increase collaboration among our providers for a more effective public health system, providing education on priority health concerns and advocating for systems changes. We also work across state lines as the people in our region live, work, play, and receive services across state lines every single day. And I would also add that in the case of emergencies, such as we saw with the COVID pandemic. We are an organization that is incredibly flexible to respond to the needs of our communities, reaching out to say, for instance, who are the folks that you're concerned about getting COVID vaccine as early as possible. Given the way that the system is working in New Hampshire, it was not really accessible for many folks. So we put together COVID vaccine clinics and actually worked with you to reach out to the folks you were most concerned about individually and invite them to come and get vaccine. I think there were many other ways in which we worked with Hanover and other municipalities to sort of just say, what is it you need as we go through this incredibly painful learning process together? And we always want to be here in order to do that for you. I would like to share just a couple of things about our vision, where we're going in terms of work in the next couple of years. One of the things that we really do well is working with our convening folks. As I've described, creating a community health improvement plan that serves as that shared agenda across a wide variety of health and human services organizations. But going forward, we'd like to really build out programs in a couple of areas. One of those is actually in our town and regional support. We are currently working with the town of Lebanon to do a public health needs assessment that will become part of their strategic plan moving forward. That's giving us an opportunity to learn more about what they need, what's in place, what the priorities are, and we'd love to be able to provide that kind of support to other communities moving forward. We also support collaboration between public health partners and regional planning commission members, because we have found over the course of the last 5 years or so that regional planners are thinking more about health issues, and folks within community health and public health are actually thinking more about some of the environmental factors that affect our public health, which have traditionally been in the job descriptions of many of our regional planning commissions. We do outreach to towns and schools to make sure they're aware of things that are going on, but our vision for the future is to be able to do much more of that and to deepen that work. Some of the ideas that we're exploring is, first of all, finding out what towns such as Hanover are interested in, what you need in terms of more support around public health, but also supporting the folks that you have in place now, working more closely with human services administrators and town health officers, maybe holding some local gatherings and workshops so that we can really be focused on the issues that those folks are seeing in your own communities, and also providing more opportunities for folks to learn from each other about what's working and what's challenging still. Another area is in health equity. We have done a fair amount of work over the last few years in understanding and in advocating for the inclusion of underrepresented groups in decision-making around what needs to happen to support health, supporting leadership development among folks who are part of underrepresented groups, and conducting research on needs and best practices for health equity. We would like to do much more of that. We would like to do that work much more deeply, providing technical assistance and training, and ultimately being able to provide funding for pilot projects so that we could put power and decision-making into the hands of the people who are experiencing health disparities so that they can find ways of solving the problems that they see with solutions that they think are going to be the most effective. And the final thing that I want to share with you tonight is that Public Health Council has been doing more and more work of fiscally sponsoring new and emerging projects in the Upper Valley. We do this at a very low rate right now of 5% of whatever the revenues are for those projects. And right now we are hosting things such as the Greater Upper Valley Integrated Services Team, the Windsor Community Nurse Project, a landlord risk mitigation project in consultation with the City of Lebanon and Listen Community Services, and also the Families Flourish, which is a region, we're not fiscal sponsor for them, but we're fiscal sponsor for their staff. They are trying to build a treatment program for pregnant and parenting women in Lebanon or very close to the Lebanon-Hanover line. We'd like to be able to do more of that, and we'd like to be able to support those organizations more fully in not just in doing the fiscal management, but also in terms of consulting with them on program development, evaluation, sustainability, HR, coaching, and other things. And all of this will be part of what I hope will be growth, sustainable, affordable growth for the organization over the next 3 to 7 years as we get ready to move on into the next phase of our existence in supporting all of the folks in our region. Thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Alice. And can you just remind us, staff-wise, it's in your organization, I know it's you.
It's me and maybe it's 1.5 FTE for the organization itself, plus we have one full-time person who is tasked to one of the specific projects that we sponsor.
Okay, terrific. So sorry you lost our visual, but we were listening.
That was a little weird.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
It's much easier talking to people than it is talking to chairs.
To an empty room, yes.
But we're here for you.
Yes, we are here. Thank you, Alice. Questions for Alice? No. Thank you very much, Alice. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Youth in Action is last but not least. David, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the board.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, so I'm David Wiesbensky, and I'm a senior at Hanover High School, and I'm one of the members of Youth in Action's Student Leadership Committee, which is a group of students with representatives from each class, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, who work with our faculty advisors, such as Ms. Donegan, who's also here tonight, to carry out our group's mission. Our work and finances are overseen by a board that assists us in identifying needs in our community. So as the primary volunteer organization at our school, we engage our student body in meaningful acts of service throughout the Upper Valley. While laboring to help local nonprofit organizations, we also aim to build a spirit of service within our school. So after our student leaders identify a list of available opportunities each month, we share our activities with the entire student body and invite anyone to participate. No experience is ever necessary, and we welcome and encourage all students to get involved. Last academic year, we engaged students in over 40 different volunteer events. Organizations that we assist include the Upper Valley Haven, Listen Centers, CHAD, the Red Cross, the Hanover Recreation Department, the Upper Valley Humane Society, Summer Park Senior Living, the Family Place, and more. You may have seen Youth in Action volunteers at events like the 4th of July celebration on the Green or the Fall and Winter festivals in Hanover. We also prepare meals for families in David's house and the Haven, serve meals at Listen, Bell Ring for heating assistance, assist in running Red Cross blood drives in our school, organize food drives that benefit multiple different food shelves, bake pies for the senior center, prepare gift baskets for children in need, and assist on an ad hoc basis at other local events. In addition, we are always creating new partnerships and looking for ways to expand our impact. This year, for example, as I'm personally very interested in and experienced with trail building and outdoor work, I initiated a collaboration with the Pine Park Association to help with several projects to maintain and improve the park grounds. Through 2 work days this fall, we removed a large area of invasive plants and cleared fallen brush, which we then turned into piles to create new habitat for animals that make their homes within the park. I'm looking forward to returning to the park in the spring with more volunteers, and I'm grateful that Youth in Action has provided me with so many opportunities to contribute to our community. I find this work very rewarding and hope that many students into the future will experience the sense of purpose that comes from service. Finally, I'd like to end on a bit of good news. This year, we are actually requesting less funding than in previous years, as we have reduced the director's hours and have shifted more of the organizational responsibilities to our student leaders. And we appreciate your very generous support in the past and are happy to report on our successful work so far this year. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, David. Pine Park is lovely. Thank you. Questions for David on action?
No, really nice
Okay.
presentation, and thank you for all you guys do.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.
That is a wrap. Thank you.
Okay, all right, terrific. Thanks for guiding us through all of that. So let's turn now to Select Board Retreat objectives and key results update. Jenny, thank you for sending around some revisions, which were circulated. And Joanna, you had some comments that you circulated earlier.
Yeah, sorry, it was only today.
No, that's okay. There
This was
were,
a pretty daunting stack, I might add.
yes, very daunting. But I'm glad we got through it.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
Okay.
There is nobody left on Zoom. Would you like it to continue to be?
Unless there's some reason. No.
We're going to end Zoom at this point. If that's okay, Nick? Does that cause you any heartache?
Fine.
Okay.
Okay, well.
Let's just leave it that way.
Okay, all right. It's also fine.
I'm gonna need a 2-second break.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Yes, okay, we will.
Just to kind of wrap up the discussion that we just had, I know we're gonna go to OKRs, but so we now have a more clear understanding of what our policy is on social services and what we didn't follow last year. And in terms of first time requests and putting it to the voters, we just kind of said, yeah, sure. So
I'm not sure. I mean, I understand about the first time request.
So last year, like a number of these requests were first time.
Right.
And we
Was it a number
We
or
discussed
just
that and we opted to.
we just allocated the funds, but we didn't, I mean, we spent the money, but we didn't put it to town meeting for a vote.
I'm not sure that that's our.
I think that's what our policy is, a first time request goes,
No, we
doesn't
discussed
it?
this. I have to go back to the record.
I thought we reviewed the policy
I
like
think that
recently.
I think that was the policy, that a first time request was meant to go to follow it
Yeah,
last
I don't
year.
think we should follow it. I think we should review the policy.
Yeah,
We said we need
I
to
think
do
I
that.
maybe misunderstood
did.
that it's in the budget and the budget went to the, I might not understand the policy. I don't, like, it's in the budget and the budget went to town meeting.
I would say.
Or
I'm
if it's
sorry,
supposed to,
Jenny.
yeah,
So
I
the
didn't
policy
understand
was
that.
my understanding of the policy, and when we pulled it out kind of post-mortem town
Uh-huh.
meeting this summer, we learned that the policy said that if it's a first-time request,
Yeah.
we put it to the voters as a separate line item and say,
Right.
do we want to support the listen request for $10,000?
I
And
think-
once they do, then, we do it the following year as part of our social service.
I think we should change the policy. I don't agree with the policy. I think we discussed it before. There's no need to subject that to the vote if we have clear criteria. Policy how it's useful. I think it's a time. So I'm really happy with how we did it last year, which is not going with our written policy, but our written policy, as you may remember, Joanna, it was even more draconian or
No, we adjusted the
cumbersome. No, it
policy
was more
this year, right?
cumbersome in the Wade passed, where we put it on the ballot for like 3 years in a row.
Right.
Which was totally absurd.
For the
forcing
$500.
these- Yeah, I mean, I don't think it needs to go to town meeting, period. As long as the select board has appropriate review, like you just did, of the organizations and making sure that they meet our specified criteria, which is very clear.
So just in the interest of advancing this along, I think the process that's under consideration is to have staff take a look and make an initial recommendation to the select board.
Yep.
With respect to these,
Yep.
and then we will
Okay.
still have the ability to change if we disagree with staff or whatever reasons. And with respect to process, Rob, can we also just revisit the we're struggling to remember if the revised policy still requires a first time.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Okay,
To
let's
go to
revise
town
it, let's
meeting.
bring it back.
So Alphas would like to strike that.
But obviously we need to vote on that, agree on that, but I think that policy is outdated, given the process we just went through. It's far more in depth than folks at town meeting. I don't think we'll leave that. I think it just belongs to town meeting.
Bring back the policy for your consideration.
OKRs.
OKRs, yeah, 1 second. Sorry.
Lots going on out there.
Yes.
What's going on out there? It's still snowing?
Yeah, a little bit. It's been like.
Conditions are improving.
Yeah. Hope it doesn't rain tomorrow.
So Jenny, I just want to, I think the, probably the comments relate to the additional key results that you had added in your edit of like mid-November. Had some comments that you circulated relative to that. I think the first was hire a sustainability coordinator, which had been in there previously. I think the second, third, and fourth, pass zoning reform at town meeting, pass updated complete streets policy, develop a shared streets plan. I think those are additions. And I think that's what, when we discussed it at the last select board meeting 3 weeks ago, we said, you know what, it's late, we're tired. And so here we are again, late and tired. But Joanna, you had comments on those, I believe. Yep. You want to go through that?
Sure.
Okay.
So as I said in my message to everyone, I think our objectives are good. The big objectives and the sub objectives, I know that there's been a working group that Jarrett, you've kind of led with town staff and others in downtown vibrancy. And I know there was a recent decision to go with the Upper Valley Business Alliance to create this committee. And I was just wondering if, given how much work that has been over the course of the year, and it is part of the sustainability master plan, is to have one of the key goals and chapters is all about a vibrant and vital downtown. If we should have a sub-objective under implementation of the plan, or,
And your idea is to clarify.
Well, my suggestion, and I kind of raised it with Jarrett, is, should we have that as a sub-objective as we talk about advancing the sustainability master plan implementation, and perhaps a very simple key result would be figure out how the town can support this committee, or define the relationship between the committee and the town staff and select board. I don't know, but it feels like there's a lot of effort. There's a lot of words here about streets and shared, complete streets and shared street plans, and downtown vitality was we spent a lot of time on that too. And so I just want to make sure there's equal billing, in terms of
Yeah,
what
I
we're
think
doing.
what I was thinking was sort of the two main things that came out of like, in terms of like where the talking points were around the master plan. And a lot of vibrancy did come out, but also, so housing, we had many conversations about it, perhaps because that's how we organized talking about land use, right? So, I mean, so that was obviously top of mind, and it's top of mind just because of the crazy rent increases that have happened and housing like increases that have happened, and you know, we need 800 units, right? Yeah, the reason I put those two is because I thought they're foundational for everything else. Like adding housing near downtown is foundational also to creating a vibrant downtown business, because there's a direct correlation between like how far people live away from something and how frequently they visit them. It's like a very well-established relationship. And the same thing with just those walkable connections allow people to do it. And having, yeah, just sort of that foundation, I thought everything else sort of built on that. But yeah, we have like a concrete objective outside of that for the downtown. Like I'm all ears. I think we should really be thinking about what steps we take to move forward.
So you've got some language on the table, which is key result could be defined relationship between the select board, town staff, and the newly created downtown committee of the Upper Valley Business Alliance. So that's pretty specific, something that's going to get done. It's in the midst of getting done. We can add that.
Yeah, that's
Are we agreed with that? Okay, so let's
yeah,
add.
I said clarify, but she had said define. Sorry, I got the word wrong.
So let's add that as.
Does that make sense to you?
It does.
I mean, there may be something more specific, but I don't really know what
Yeah.
it would be.
I mean, in general, I think, you know, the objective of implementing the Hanover master plan is, it's a big thing, right? And the key results we have here are very specific around a couple of things. And so on the one hand, I think it may be good to say we are going to get these things done because we think we can get them done. But I also think that it may be bad because we've picked some things that are really important to Jenny, but may not be all encompassing of the master plan, which includes a lot of other really important things. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, there's
I
like
feel
10
like
chapters.
like the conservation. Like right now, we're hearing at the planning board. We're actually entertaining at the planning board. What happens if we rezone Goose Pond because to allow for all year housing, because people are so desperate to allow for some housing. That's like kind of antithetical to this idea that we should reduce sprawl and conserve land, right? But people are looking for ways to allow for housing, right? So that's where building out ways for people to connect within, like, call it infill, call it smart growth, call it walkable, whatever you want to call it, like setting up the foundation to do that, that lets us conserve open space. That lets us create a vibrant downtown because we have more people to walk there. And the same thing with like, but of course that it's leaving, it's not everything. It's just, it's like a first step. It's not, we're talking about, you know, as you make everything more accessible, then everyone is more productive and has more independence. There are other important strategic priorities, and I think it's important that we discuss them. Like, I love this idea of OKRs and saying, okay, what this year do we want to align our energies around. And I think it's important to have that kind of strategic focus if we want to move forward. If that's like kind of.
I'm just, you know, it's mid-December. New select board year starting in May. It's like we are running out of time. We can add a whole bunch more stuff here, but it's just, we need to really think about what are we really going to get done. Because otherwise we just divert our energy and then we find that we couldn't get that done because we're spending time on this. We got to pick our spots. So
Don't worry about the downtown stuff.
Okay, then delete it. Okay, you got it. That's fine. That's good. I mean, and I think the focus on housing is a good one.
Yeah. Totally, and that's stuff.
Because we certainly have been talking about it, yeah.
We should be working on it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my hesitation with the zoning reform is that I just I feel like it's not under our control. I know you said we have prudential powers, but I wasn't sure what that meant.
I said we have prudential responsibilities.
Prudential responsibilities, but I wasn't sure what that meant. I mean, I think the language that Joanna put forward is.
That's how the state defines prudential responsibilities.
I think it has to do with money. I think it's having to do with money, right?
The prudential affairs. I think they say affairs. The prudential affairs of the town goes beyond money, but it's the prudential affairs. It's the things that matter.
So
yeah, so I mean,
it's important to take care of.
If I just to finish the thought on the zoning stuff, it's not our job to pass zoning reform. And zoning reform is not really a term.
The key result is like what is measurable to know that we are making progress towards our objective. And we could say that that's too aggressive, but I was going for something like we will know that we are successful in aligning our priorities across the town if we pass meaningful zoning reform. Like that's what we say we need to do in our master plan. That's what we know we have to do to work towards providing 800 more units. So the question is, do we want to pick something that might be beyond our reach, but do we want to pick a target that we know we are working towards passing zoning reform? Because we can say we did that or we didn't do that. You could say like, I'm going to sell like 1 million computers. Like I don't have control over whether someone buys my computer, but we can align over like whether we're going to try to sell 1 million computers, right? Pick a target. That's the key result. But we can pick something else.
I'm just not sure what the specific actions are that we can do to pass zoning reform. We select board. I mean, maybe it's the language that Joanna put forward: ensure sufficient resources are allocated for robust community engagement to explain and solicit support for zoning changes. Okay, I mean, we do budgets, so we can say, you know, zoning, you guys have what you need to put forward community engagement so that we can make sure that this is well vetted, et cetera. So that we can do. But I mean, our powers are somewhat restricted here and our responsibilities are somewhat restricted.
Well, our powers are looking after the prudential affairs of the town. That's like setting the strategic priorities of the town. So it could be just as simple as that. Say, this is our goal. Hey, everyone, this is our goal. And we're saying to the town, we're saying to everyone who works for the town, we're saying to our boards, this is really important to us. It's basically saying what Joanna wrote up really well, that we would like to make sure that you have the resources that you need. You know, if they need us to like do something, we could consider doing that as well. If they want us to like help run outreach, right? There are other things that we could do, but it could be as basic as setting that objective and saying, we'll know we've moved towards this objective when we hit this measurable key result. But we don't have to, I mean, I was trying to follow the framework because the foundation of that is like, oh, we measure what matters, then we know we're moving towards our objective. But to do that, we have to do this. We have to talk about what that is. And This is, not everyone might agree, right? So that's why we talk about it.
Mhm.
I think it's not super simple to get great objectives and great key results.
No, it's not, right, so, I mean, yeah. I agree. So I could be supportive of the language that Joanna put forward, because I feel like that's something we can do. We can ensure sufficient resources, robust community engagement. That is a step along the way toward zoning reform. But I'm sort of hesitant to say our objective is to pass zoning reform, but.
No, it would be our key result. It would be our objective.
Yes.
Is
Advancing the master plan.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm not comfortable putting it as a key result passing zoning reform. I just feel
feels
like
weird.
it feels weird for me as a select board member. If
Mhm.
I were on the planning board, that would be fine. But ultimately it's town meeting that passes it. And so I just kind of feel like, for me, I'm looking at this as we serve on this board. What are our key results? And
Yeah,
and so that's how I feel right now. I mean, and then I think the other.
I think everything that you wrote makes a ton of sense. The only question is, do we want to add anything that we could measure? Or are we just gonna say, yeah, we did that? Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I hear what you're saying.
Which is fine. This is also, we're supposed to be like demonstrating the objective key results so that we can then roll them out more widely. And we could just say, we're not gonna do them like maybe perfectly this time, but that's the attempt, is like, okay, what could we?
Well, and I mean, I think it is measurable. You have a sustainability coordinator.
That one's
You have
measurable.
You have public engagement. That's measurable. You can have a series of public meetings. We could
That's like an
use this
input.
forum at select board meetings to say, hey, the section on housing and the zoning amendments is available for public comment. This is what it does in the downtown. This is what it's doing. We could have a report out and use this forum. And we can say, there have been, 6 public meetings in 5 neighborhoods or whatever. So I think all of those are measurable. When it comes to the zoning piece, I think we can say we've developed a shared street plan. I don't feel comfortable saying, including specific plans for the summer repaving, because I don't know what the shared street plan is. I want to see what we're producing in that plan. And then I'm ready, once I know what is in the plan and kind of what it means.
Oh, that second half?
That second half.
Yeah, there's supposed to be at least one project that's like shovel ready. So it's like, we should align that with what we're doing next year, like Maple Street.
A
Because it's
shovel
on the-
ready project, I could buy into that, but I also want to know, what does that mean as people who are supposed to be fiscally responsible for stuff? I want to make sure that we're doing what the town plan wants us to do in a fiscally responsible way. And I don't know what the shared street plan is going to produce. Just like the thing on complete streets, we
I don't
approve that.
understand your question about the shared street. There's like a consulting study.
To
look at it, and from that consulting study, there's supposed to be a shovel ready project.
Great.
So the idea is just to align it with the street that we're going to be repaving anyway, and have a plan to build a sidewalk on anyway. That's like, the idea is like, just while we're doing it, we should be preparing for what's coming next.
And what I'm saying is, I did not know that that's part of the shared street plan. And I'm saying, do the plan. If part of the plan is to do a shovel ready project and it makes sense, then I can support that. But if I don't know what it is, sidewalks on Maple Street or, crosswalks on, a three-way stop on Reservoir, I want to know what it is and what it means for the community before I support it. Is what I'm saying.
So it could be as simple as develop a shared streets plan and consider, not necessarily do, but consider a site-specific plan.
Well, if it's in the plan, then that's fine. But I mean, I imagine we want to develop and adopt the plan. We don't want to just have a plan that's developed by a consultant that, we want to adopt the plan so it can be useful as we move forward through repaving of streets and putting stuff in. So, but I'm not willing to say, we're going to do this for all of our summer repaving projects. Because that's how I read this key result.
And I wasn't sure how CIPC factored into that also.
Well, the idea behind the shared streets and the idea behind complete streets is that we stop wasting money doing the exact same thing that we always did, because some of the streets, we know we can make we can have them serve more people, right? If we just do them differently. And so when we repave them, we don't repave them exactly the same, right? Does that make sense? So for example, we just repaved Lime Road between Park Street and Reservoir, right? We almost repaved it exactly the way we had repaved it before. But we didn't, because we remembered that that bike lane was substandard. And in order to make the bike lane as wide as it should be, because you're not supposed to have a bike lane that's under 5 feet long, 5 feet wide if it's next to a curb. So in order to do that, we had to shift the crown of the road. But that wouldn't have been done if we didn't say, hey, wait, we should make sure we're following our complete street standards when we repave that. So it actually cost us pretty much the same, right? We had to sometimes there's a little designer engineering, but in terms of the quantities of asphalt and the amount of time that people are taking repaving it and painting the line, essentially the same. But with a little forethought, now we have a usable bike lane rather than one that made people feel very uncomfortable. So the idea is that every project, we really should be doing this. And the select board, prior to my joining it in 2017, adopted a policy that said as much. In order to get there, it's a lot easier if you have a little bit more plans down, kind of in the bank, about how you handle each of the streets and intersections and the way things are coming together, and with all the changes happening with geothermal digging, there are some extra opportunities.
May I?
Yeah.
I don't think there's disagreement in the idea of implementing the policy. I think from what I'm hearing, the right action from the select board is to adopt the policy and direct staff to evaluate the costs and present those costs to the select board, who's dealing with the budget process, make informed decisions, rather than have the policy without the financial information attached to it as part of the process. So from my perspective, using the Complete Streets policy as the example, the revised Complete Street policy should be transmitted with a directive saying, going forward, unless there's real cost implications, we want you to develop and document why it can't be done under the Complete Street policy, and present a project that meets it with a cost estimate, an explanation of the cost. Jenny, on the Lime Road, I don't want to create tension there, but that was actually, the resurfacing that occurred was because of a failure in the adherence of the finish coat that the contractor had an obligation to provide.
Are you talking about north of Reservoir?
No, south of Reservoir. So that resurfacing was actually the town holding the paving contractor accountable for the failure. It was delaminating, and we were able to then push the implementation. So it wasn't
So it
necessary.
wasn't even on the schedule.
Yeah.
But we got it anyway.
Yeah.
That was good.
Exactly.
Got that bird. So it really should be all things on the schedule and not on the schedule.
Again, we're looking out as town employees.
Yeah.
To ensure their contract obligations are met. And that's an example of it.
So do we want to move forward with the select board considering streets policy and or shared streets? I think it is a first step.
I think we should, I mean, we have a complete street policy. I understand there's a draft to update it.
Yeah, there is a draft, and it may be presented to you as soon as next Monday night.
Great.
Yeah, the master plan has that we should
Hire
update
a
the
town
complete street
manager.
policy. Yes.
Get these done, man. Done.
That's definitely on the list. So that's complete streets.
Yes.
Okay, shared streets.
Now
That contract's been issued, the report's due in May or June. It's Carolyn Radish at Tool is the consultant. There's some synergy with what's going on with the college in that particular case, because some of the work that Tool is doing in planning for the college work. So, Carolyn was working at GPI, and has jumped to Tool. She's a local, she lives on Sargent Street, so she has some expertise, and she's an expert in this area. So we need to work with Carolyn.
So if we have a plan in April.
It's probably May. Yes.
Okay, so if we have a plan in May, so maybe the key result next year is that we're implementing it, or there's this shovel-ready project that we can, well, I don't know.
I don't
If just start
think
struggling.
we should build a sidewalk on Maple until we think about a plan for the street.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all. It's like, that's really what.
Sounds
that's
pretty
why
basic,
that's in
yeah.
there.
Yeah, okay.
Have a plan, don't just, dude, we have a new sidewalk by CNA.
But I think this, in that particular conversation, I think there was guidance given that we take no action if the improvements inhibit future improvements to Maple. And that was discussed at the CIP committee level.
I think we have enough to go on to retool this and let us, I mean, looking at the time, we have other things to talk about. So why don't we retool this and maybe we'll vote on it next meeting, which is just next month.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Great. Yep.
Good. All right. Thank you. All right. Let's.
So just like a recap, it seems like we're most comfortable with measurable results that are sort of more of the input variety rather than like output or an outcome. Right? For now, which I think is actually
I think that's fair.
a reasonable way to start.
And that
But I
we
think like
adjust.
if we want to do this, like if we think that this is a useful framework, then
should be out.
We should start thinking for our next select board retreat about what could some of those output and outcome related results be.
And I think my guess is it will gradually
Yeah.
get there.
And my guess is to do it well, or to do it in a way that really does all like the promise of this, aligning resources behind strategic goals, is that you want some sort of combination of those. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Good.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to business requiring action. The first item of which is the approval of the November 18th, 2024 Select Board minutes. Are there any comments on the minutes? No, all right.
We'll move to approve the
November 18th.
November 18th select board minutes.
Second.
Second, all right. Any comments?
I had a name, sorry, and I'm just late. There was a name that was, I think Stacy Dodd was spelled wrong. It's DODD. And then is Erin McKenna was
the blank?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not finding.
Above, it's on page 2.
Yeah.
Public
I
comment.
think that's all I had. I just, sorry, I couldn't, I don't know where.
Not Don Stacy, it's Stacy Dodds.
It's Stacy Dodd, DODD.
Okay.
Or, no, it's Dodd Stacy. You're right. It's Dodd Stacy.
Not Dawn.
Backwards. Huh?
Dodd?
Dodd, DODD. It's in the right order, it's just not the right name.
So Don Stacy is Dodd Stacy.
Yeah. With 2 Ds at the end, so 3 Ds total. And where it says Donster, it's Erin McKenna. I don't know.
All right.
So with those
Take
those friendly amendments,
Yes.
those minor
All those-
spelling
We got a
checks.
second already.
Got it. All right, all those in favor?
I
Aye, thank you. All right. Review and approval of South Main Street overhead banner policy.
Looks really good.
It's okay.
Did good.
you've got the regular change to Board of
Select
Selectmen
board,
to
yeah,
Select Board,
sorry.
and maybe it says adopted date on the back. I mean, maybe even put it on the front. I don't know.
My only question here is the submitters under 1. We don't mention the town or any of the town departments. I think it's probably implied that the town or town departments can.
But it's Happy Holidays out there. And I'm pretty sure it's the town that put it up, not
Right, or parking ban or
4th of July celebration or
Glad.
the town.
Do you want to add, so what do you want to do, Jared?
Add town departments or town of Hanover. I'm not sure what to add, but I just don't want to prevent the town from being able
was
to.
the other one. It's spelled wrong. Sorry. Yeah, is a town of Hanover is municipality and not for profit. I would suggest that we just have not for profit and maybe not specify different types of them, because it seems like
Okay.
we're parsing something that we don't, like include the town as
Yep.
municipality. But maybe put that where we have the.
So you want to say nonprofit organizations include town? Just for, I know it's redundant, but.
Oh, I
no.
don't think, we're not
Are we
not-for-profit.
nonprofit?
We're not not-for-profit.
Yeah,
We're in.
Or how about we just add municipalities?
yeah, all right.
I think add municipalities, and I wouldn't break it down into other nonprofit organizations. I think we only need that one umbrella list and not further.
Is it just municipalities? It could also be a county or state. I want to say government.
I don't know. Given what the government's doing these days.
Municipalities, yes, we love our municipalities. Okay.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. So Jenny, are you saying nonprofits? So would that, what you're saying
I just
is,
think we need 3 in total: nonprofit, schools, and municipalities/governments, or whatever we want to say there,
and forget about churches and just treat them as nonprofits?
because they are.
So is NFL.
There's a lot of nonprofits. And
So
then
you're saying
I
about
guess,
the National Football League? With billions and billions and billions of
Yeah.
dollars?
Yeah.
is there
They're
any,
a nonprofit.
So there's Novo
That's my
Nordisk.
understanding.
do we have to worry,
Novo Nordisk.
They're a nonprofit?
Yeah.
do we have to worry about like a B Corp or anything?
But we still have control in this policy.
We do, thank you.
Well, it says, but it says eligible applicants. It would have to
But
say,
that's eligible, not they're guaranteed.
right,
So,
but
yeah.
that would
Well,
preclude,
why should gonna?
it would preclude everyone else right now.
Absolutely. We come all the time.
But
Unless-
I hate to say it, but there's always a workaround.
Yeah,
Yes, someone could go to the chamber and say, I'm prepared to give you a small donation if you sponsor this banner request.
We
And-
still have final say.
I know, but I mean,
There's always a
welcome to
workaround.
Hanover, sponsored by the chamber, with a small contribution accomplishes the same goal.
yeah.
So,
Okay,
so
let's
let's, so
decide.
we're striking churches or other faith-based institutions, and we're adding municipalities. Sounds like
Yeah,
right?
sounds good.
Okay, so
That sounds
is there
good.
a motion to approve the amended South
Wait.
Main? Yeah, okay, sorry, for the discussion.
We corrected all the board of selectmen, right?
Yes. Select board now.
Yes, B.
It's good. It's a good policy.
I like policies that are like a page and a half.
Okay. All right, let's just further comments. That's our motion.
Move to approve this slightly amended overhead
Main
banner
Street.
policy, South Main Street overhead banner policy.
Okay.
Second.
Jared seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. ARPA funds update and select board
Can I
approval.
say there was one other, the Brissette funds is misspelled.
I got it. Yes,
Yeah,
I read
I got
that. Yeah, thank you. ARPA funds update and select board approval, unless there is another. You have an update or we saw this 3 weeks ago?
So the spreadsheet in your package revised and clarified. We are working diligently to make sure we have all the proposed or planned projects and contracts under contract. The only outstanding item right now is the EV chargers. We did receive a quote today, a contract today for the Zoom room conversion here. That contract's been executed, so I think we are in moving forward. Right now, we show a balance of $4,310. However, the town digitization project with the fire at the police station.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Is significantly over budget, so we're trying to figure out how to cover that.
I'm sorry, what was over budget?
The police department's digital records conversion. And so I think we are in a good place, and I'm requesting that you approve this, the ARPA funding
Can I
expense.
just ask a question about the EV chargers?
Yep.
Did we ever, I know there was like utilization rates in the garage, but I was a little unclear as to whether we needed more.
We need a what?
We need more.
Oh, yeah.
Those are used like at the same time. I think it was a question of like, are they being used at the same time because the hours weren't that much?
I'll answer it in a different
Yeah.
way. The demand, the use may not reflect the demand based on their location and type of charger. You know, from my perspective, the proposed location and the creation of the infrastructure will grow the demand by having them available. But I know that there is a demand, and we have several EV users in the room who know what it's like to chase a charging
Yeah.
station.
Don't drive your EV that's not a Tesla on Thanksgiving weekend.
Or during eclipses.
Right, don't even try.
I took my gas car during the eclipse.
Yeah, that was smart. I didn't have a gas car, but yeah. Fast charger.
I think we talked about this recently. Probably no, but charging around here is different.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if our municipal chargers were being used.
They're just put in place. It's part of the problem.
Yeah,
And
it's
they're
a,
slow.
And they're slow
And it's
chargers.
slow.
so maybe it's a more about the speed. Are they movable if we need to move them later?
No, the infrastructure, well, I don't know the cost of moving them. Which ones? The proposed or
The proposed ones,
the base
because
units?
those ones are already bought.
Yeah, the base units are movable. The charging unit itself is movable. It's the infrastructure we're going to install.
Wires.
Yeah, it's power.
Super
I chose a location based on the capacity of the transformer.
Yeah, the proximity to here.
Yeah, and walking
Yeah,
distance to
it's just
downtown.
when the last, I haven't asked this year, but when I asked last year, the estimate from the folks
In the
who,
parking garage.
no, the folks here that take the car registration fees. It was only around 100 plugins, they thought. And the vast majority of them were hybrid plugins. And at the time, and I think there's been an increase, or more people have been driving totally electric because I see them. But at the time, there were only 4 fully electric cars registered in Hanover.
Jen-
So it just made me wonder.
The issue is destination charging. It's not people, I mean, I never charge my car at the Hanover chargers because I charge my car at night every home. Just like using your cell phone, I charge it at night and it's ready to go in the morning.
Yeah.
So it's the people who come from afar, not Hanover residents, that are seeking these out.
Got it.
And so they're going other places instead of
Right.
here because there's nothing fast
Yeah.
here.
Walmart and
But even then,
You know, it's
Price
it's
chopper.
you know, you can even say it's helping downtown businesses.
Yeah.
Because they're, now they have a place to
I-
come and charge and.
I mean, hey,
Yeah, but that's not gonna be our.
the analogy,
strategy.
the analogy
But
that I
some-
think
at some point
rings
that's
for me is you don't build a bridge based on the number of people swimming across the river. You build it for the potential. That for me, we know there's going to be a continued increase in demand. And we know that the current locations of the fast chargers are in West Leb on 12A, which does not serve the town of Hanover in any way. And there's no funding available for any fast chargers from the state because they don't consider Vermont within the zone of influence of Hanover. Yeah.
Right, so the population count
Yeah,
is too
well,
low.
well,
Right,
91 doesn't count. It requires it to be within proximity to 89. So 91 doesn't count for Hanover because it's over the river on the other side.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna make a motion. I move to approve the allocation of ARPA funds as outlined in the attached spreadsheet.
Second. I will second.
Great.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And we recognize, Rob, there's a lot of work that goes behind that in terms of implementing that, and we appreciate that work on your behalf and the staff. Next is approval of items 1 to 2 by consent. It includes the appointment of Amy Swan as tax collector, associate town clerk. And it also donations to Etna Library from John Collier in the amount of $1,000, and donation from Julia Wyburn in the amount of $100. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
To accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Right, and with gratitude to Mr. Collier and Ms. Wyburn. Thank you. We do have, so we are now at Town Manager Monthly Report, and I do have documents. Can you just very quickly in here, we have a number of things, I guess, related to.
Signature, yeah. The appointment of Emma Swan.
Yep.
As associate town clerk requires your authorization as a municipal agent. So there's in yours. Emma started today along with Kate Shea, my new administrative assistant. So
Congratulations.
we're moving forward. So I'll do a condensed version of the town manager's report. I can find it, since I just misplaced it.
You want mine?
Yes, please.
There you go.
Oh, here it is. Here. There you go. So, quick, I've been remiss in not reporting on the planning department. We have 3 vacancies currently: director of planning, mental housing inspector, and sustainability coordinator. We've got a short list on the sustainability coordinator of 5. We're trying to schedule the interviews over the next week and a half. We do have rental housing inspector candidates applications under review, so we're trying to move forward with that. 76 permits were applied for during the process in November, with $555,000 of revenue taken in as part of those permits.
Oh my God.
For
Jenny,
November.
something's happening in the market. I don't know if you'll ever get affordable housing though, based on that. Holy mackerel. Because that's a percentage of the building, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do want to announce that Ryan Borkowski, our code officer, was selected as official of the year for the state of New Hampshire.
Cool.
It's a great honor for Ryan and for the town of Hanover. And my congratulations to him. Fire department is fully staffed and has conducted some training with the DHMC or Dartmouth Health residents. The program gave the residents a chance to experience a range of rescue options, including confined spaces and rope work at the fire station, and it went well. Public Works, we have some new hires. Fleet superintendent started November 18th. Originally has also worked at DHMC and the co-op, or Dartmouth Health and the co-op. And one of our heavy equipment positions was filled. That individual started on December 2nd. We do have 4 vacancies in the heavy equipment operator position, and we're working through those issues at this time. A range of training has taken place at DPW, from water distribution, ice chain safety, work order and asset management, Public Works, wastewater training, and we have some certifications for our staff at DPW. Ben Rogers passed the operator and training certification, and Tim Lake passed the water distribution operator and training certification. So kudos to them. We have work programs, highway, ditch the roads, clean culverts and pothole patch for winter preparation. These are unseen things that most people don't appreciate, but with the pending rain that we're expected to get later this week, these are critical maintenance issues that protect our roads and assets. Water system replacement bids open for phase 1. Contractors underway, start in 2025, spring of 2025. In key areas: sewer maintenance ongoing, sewer flushing and hydrant winterization. Girlbrook MUP, final engineering and natural resource reports have been submitted. LED utility light replacement, the Department of Energy approved the extension request. Our fallback, if the funding modification isn't approved, will be to use the New Hampshire Saves rebate to cover the gap. Wastewater upgrade, value engineering is initiated. It's required for all projects that exceed $10 million, so that's underway. A water service notification has gone out regarding connections to homes that are either unknown or galvanized. They're required to be replaced as part of the EPA policy standards. Water media replacement's been slower than expected, but is improving with staff as we move forward with the EPA service analysis. The draft
we scheduled ours, and it was so easy to schedule, and they came exactly when they said they would, and they're so polite. The guy took off his shoes. I'm like, you don't have to. He's like, no, it's okay. And then he was done in 10 minutes. It's totally worth it. And he's like, you're going to be able to check your water with an app. Yep. So I don't know what could be more appealing than that. So schedule your water meter replacement.
Well, the neat part is you can monitor your own usage and detect if you have a leaky toilet or some other leak in the house, and it's real.
It will silently judge you for long showers.
The draft
on silent at
wastewater
my
and national permit was issued. Comments were due on January 13th. We've requested an extension to March 15th, given the holidays. Significant document that requires a deep dive, and we haven't gotten through it. I'll skip to the final, and that is the Etna Library. Donations have been received. Thanks to all of those. The Etna Library raised $700 in its annual Thanksgiving pie sale.
That's a lot of pies.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of pie.
Donations from fundraisers and unsolicited contributions totaled $20,000 for FY24. Recent events, the library hosted a popular event with a local author and historian, Mary Cronenwetter, who presented on Ernest Harold Baines, a notable 20th century New Hampshire wildlife conservationist. The newsletter and upcoming events are all available on their website. I do want to highlight also Doug Hackett's award for his service and recognition by the organization. It's an important feather in Doug's hat, cap, and kudos to Doug and the town for supporting that work.
That was national, wasn't it?
Regional.
Regional.
It was the Northeast region.
Cool.
That's it for the town manager's report.
Thank you. Let's move to select board reports. Jared?
Okay, so big news with the downtown working group was we are officially a group under the Upper Valley Business Alliance. So we now have a steering committee that reports to the UVDA. We can use the UVDA's checkbook essentially to raise funds and spend funds. We have 4 subcommittees within our group, which includes parking, the public right of way, marketing and marketing PR, and then public art. So that all lines up with the Hanover master plan. And we're going to be making some good progress over the next couple of months. Exciting news. And I'm the chair of that group.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's all right. So you're excited about that too. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jared.
The sustainability committee met a couple weeks ago and has decided to bring their energy committee and other subcommittees into the fold and be super efficient in their Wednesday morning 8:30 to 10 meetings to kind of support each other and kind of take work offline as needed. So good discussion, spent a lot of time on trash, well, recycling, and kind of what the challenges associated with our single stream waste collection system and
We're not getting what we paid for.
We're not getting what we paid for.
That's the message. They're not actually recycling. That's the problem.
And so we're paying a lot of money for not getting the service that we want, and there's a lot of work being done on that. There's still, we're really concerned about solar and the community energy stuff. Again, we're not getting what we want in terms of, those people who invested in solar can't participate in community power. And, that's
still in the courts, basically.
Pardon me?
It's still like in the courts.
Yeah.
Like we don't have control over it.
Yeah. And PUC is not supportive of renewable energies in the state. So,
yeah.
I think that's it in terms of sustainability.
There's the styrofoam.
Oh, there's going to be a styrofoam collection in July and
January
25th.
So the important thing is if you get gifts that have styrofoam.
Save it.
You can save it because they're
Okay.
gonna take it and they're gonna put it in a truck and then like smush it somewhere else.
Is it one day or is it?
Yeah, it's gonna be one day.
It's like
gonna be
January
January
25th.
25th. And if for some reason that's horrifically horrible with weather,
Dump
it'll
it in
be
my-
February 1st.
Yeah, it'll be fine. But if you need a place to.
Wait, what, sorry, I kind of came in.
January 25th, they're gonna take your
Saturday?
styrofoam. I think that's a Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah, 10 to 12,
Where?
RMS. Parking lot,
2 hours to do this?
I think so.
And if it's a good ski day.
I
It could
know.
be problematic.
People are gonna just drop it in the morning. I'm
And they
sure.
are, I think we're gonna also, they were exploring, because I think last year they did dead Christmas tree lights or lights.
Oh,
right?
I
So
think they were not sure.
they're not
Yeah.
sure about that, but
But they
we'll
might.
keep you posted on that.
Yeah,
Fun news.
yeah, I don't think they had a resolution, but that was popular.
But good work by a lot of really dedicated people.
Yeah.
Thank you. There have been 2 CIPC meetings since we met as a select board 3 weeks ago. One was focused on the Howe Library and repairs at the Howe, which I want to say add up to something like $2.2 million.
Something like
It's you should know, it's a big
A lot.
expenditure. That is out there. There is still a discussion to be had on between town and corporation, so that needs to take place with respect to potentially splitting something. There was a second CIPC meeting last Friday that was focused on a couple of proposals out of Public Works to basically map the stormwater sewer capacity for a good bit of the town. Some of it's phased, but again, also it's it adds up to something like that. Those 2 studies, it's not clear if those can be capitalized, but I guess they can be financed, they can be spread out.
Yeah.
And borrowed. So those are, so that's a total of $3 million that's out there just to be aware of. Separately, Trescott Company met on December 3rd. It was pretty perfunctory. Trees continue to grow. There's not a lot else to report, although there was a great mountain bike outing that was on the property.
Yeah, that was successful. Worried about it. It really seems to have gone fine.
Yes.
Trust that company. That's it. Yeah.
Saying the gravel went over.
No, not gravel. This is not.
It was just, oh yeah, it was a total mountain bike ride. Did you do it?
No.
Awesome. We covered the bike walk stuff and I just want to say the Regional Planning Commission has a survey. So Upper Valley Lake Centipede Regional Planning Commission has a survey that's very much like a visioning survey. Like, what is your vision for the Upper Valley? What are like your concerns and the way you see things? It's almost like master plan-esque questions for the entire region. It's on their website and it was in the Valley News. I encourage everyone to take the survey because they're collecting this data.
Didn't you send it to us? Oh, no, it was in the bike walk. So.
Yeah, I sent it to our bike walk committee. I can send it to you guys if you'd like it. The link.
That would be a good thing for the select board to do.
Yeah.
Could have like 100% participation from elected officials. All 5 of us took it. Great.
Anything else?
Planning board?
The planning board, we I guess we didn't discuss here, we just got like bike walk. Is meeting in January. We adopted the parking stuff that we needed to adopt per the town meeting last year.
Site plan regs?
The site plan regs, we revisited the site plan regs. After heroic efforts from the staff to match up the old regs with a new way of looking at things and making sure everything matches. So it actually, it passed with very little discussion in the end, after lots of discussion in the intermediate step. That was great. And then next in January, we've had the proposed zoning changes from the public that we've been going through. The planning board hasn't taken any, hasn't done anything about them yet. There's been hearing them. And
So this
asking
is like the
questions and
start,
getting
right?
feedback. What?
The
Yeah,
start
this is
stuff?
the start, and then the staff will present their zoning changes in January. So, that's the plan.
Thank you. Do we have a need for a non-public? We do not.
Not at this hour.
All right, we need a motion. We need a motion to adjourn.
I
Joanna.
move we adjourn.
Yes. Jared, I saw you nod a second. All right, we are adjourned.
We do.
Yes, are we, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Sure you don't need to.
All right.
No, we do want to schedule a